Imagine walking into the union as you see a teacher collapse ahead of you. You are aware that an AED is needed, so you frantically find one and rush to get their heart going until the paramedics arrive. But then you start to wonder, what if this had happened somewhere else? Good morning, I'm Sarah Oberfell, and my information shared with you today comes from the sources you see here. Not all buildings are equipped with AEDs, as they should be, but you can help save lives before it is too late. This is a big problem, as nobody ever knows when they're going to go through cardiac arrest, and not all buildings have AEDs available to help save them in times of emergency, which creates a much higher risk of lives being lost. Today I want to share with you the importance of how you can help the good of everyone by being attentive to your surroundings and being an informed citizen. Now, according to the Wisconsin law statuses, Wisconsin provides civil immunity to certain people owning or using an AED, and lay people or the general people can use them. To me, this says that it kind of varies who is allowed to use them and under what circumstances, which isn't how cardiac arrest happens. If someone undergoes cardiac arrest, they need attention right away, and it doesn't matter who helps as long as help is coming. Also, cardiac arrest can happen anywhere. This doesn't only happen in gyms. So if people are working in an office, they could have a cardiac arrest. So they need that AED in their building as much as somebody in the gym needs it. Now, per year, 475,000 people in the United States die from cardiac arrest, and 350 of those cases happen outside of the hospital. However, in the hospital, most people can recover more easily than those who are outside of the hospital because of the quick attention to their situation. That leaves about 90% of people that are not in the hospital to have a much lower survival rate. But if we can help those people in a faster pace, their mortality rate will go up. Now, in Alabama, about 3% of people who undergo in-home cardiac arrest will survive, and 9% in Seattle will. This just goes to show that having more first responders around can increase the chances of recovery because there are more AEDs available to a larger group of people. This is still an incredibly low rate. We should not have this many people dying because the resources are not around for everybody. Cardiac arrest is not something that you can fight, and it does require immediate attention. When my dad underwent his cardiac arrest, his doctor had told him afterwards that he was a 1% to survive in-home cardiac arrest without any complications. I thought this was crazy, as the EMTs were only 5 minutes from my house. But they had later told my mom that if she had started CPR within minutes later, he would not have made it. If we lived within 10 miles of a fire station instead of 3 miles, he wouldn't have made it either. But on the bright side, if we are attentive and find AEDs in the locations that we're in, by taking that quick look, we can save many lives. Now, being able to help in this time-pressing situation can help all the people around you, as everyone is at risk of something like this happening. On the bright side as well, we can learn CPR and AED together in classes. The more people that are informed about the situations, the better. Now, the American Red Cross teaches classes on how to be trained properly on both CPR and AED use in scenarios where you can be of assistance. There are many trainers and coaches at La Crosse that will provide sessions run through the American Red Cross. They're only 4 to 6 hours long, and they only cost $60. To me, as a citizen and as a student, this is a very important skill to have, as you never know when you might need to be at somebody's assistance. And CPR is enough even if you don't have an AED there to accompany you, so learning both is super beneficial. Now, there's definitely a shortage of where there are AEDs, but there are different ways to figure out where they are before they are needed. For example, if you're entering a building that is familiar to you, You can scope it out and you can recognize where they are in the building in case of an emergency. However, if you're going into an unfamiliar building that you haven't been in before, you might not know where it is. You could ask Siri and simply say, "Hey Siri, where is the nearest AED?" So if you are in this emergency, she can get you a direct answer and you don't have to worry. Now, there's also a large reason why people survive in hospitals rather than at home. There is an abundance of people who are informed of how to do CPR and AED, as every single person working in the hospital is certified to do so. Now, there's still 75% of people who have random or at-home cardiac arrests, and that is something to be said about how much help is available, because that is a very high amount of people for not many people being aware. And while you're in the hospital, that does not mean that your survival rate goes up just because you were there and monitored, but it's mostly because of all of the information that is given. My mom had no training on how to do CPR before my dad had his episode, but throughout the moment, the dispatcher had taught her how to do so. And as it was properly executed, she could continue his blood flow until the AEDs had arrived with the paramedics. And also, there's a 5% survival. The survival rate in Seattle is 5 times higher than it would be in small towns, because with a larger population creates bigger attention to issues like this, so they are more likely to have AEDs around because there are so many people. Another good thing to hear is that there are people across the country that have heart disease, and heart disease can often lead to cardiac arrests, and people are aware of this. So many of those people who are diagnosed will soon after get an in-home AED. So they have their own personal AED with them all the time, so there's less risk of them dying. The good news is that by doing these things and simply looking around when we enter buildings and taking short classes, we can help decrease the deaths by being attentive and informed. Paying attention to your surroundings and taking this brief class, as I had mentioned, you can even do at La Crosse on a weekend, is doing your part in helping others in your community. Now, if you go to the UWL rec page and search CPR certification, you can see that there will be dates provided for when there are trainings available. These classes are short. As I said, they're only 4 to 6 hours long, which really isn't too bad for how much information you're given. And there are many instructors allowing one-on-one teaching, and this gives you more confidence so you will not freeze in the situation, as it is an important thing time-wise. Your certification will also last for 2 years, and even though if you didn't choose to renew it after that, your knowledge will stick around and it can still save people. To me, it is more worth it to be a prepared citizen than a simple bystander in a situation where I could be saving a life. And another neat thing about our campus website, is that it gives you a list of all of the buildings that have AEDs in them. And as I went through the list, I realized it is every building on campus and every sports complex. Anything that is owned by La Crosse, that is its own place, has its own AED. So we're super lucky about that. So we don't really need to worry about a shortage of them on campus, but there are many places you'll go where there will not be one. My last suggestion is to be attentive. There is lots of stress going on when someone undergoes cardiac arrest and an AED is unavailable. But if you are certified and you see this issue happening, please step in and help the person. I hope from this you continue to look out for others and potentially get CPR and AED certified in the near future. This is not a rare thing that happens and is not a small issue, as almost 500,000 people die from it each year. Together, by being informed and prepared, we can decrease the number of deaths, and you never know when you or a loved one may be affected by this. Thank you.